Be sure to check out my latest short film in the playlist. The link is in the description. Hey, I at least make better films than this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. According to our flight plan, we'll arrive.
Hello, very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operation.
I see. Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina.
I got nothing today. I got nothing. 2025 has only really just begun. I thought that I had gotten out of the worst of 2024, only for me to watch possibly the worst movie ever made, if not one of the worst movies ever made. And did I mention that the movie has 13 Oscar nominations right now? That is more Oscar nominations than Inception. That is more Oscar nominations than Avatar. It won the Golden Globe for Best Feature, with Golden Globes all around, which has now completely devalued the Golden Globes and Oscars. They have no relevance. Well, they didn't have a lot of relevance before, but absolutely now they have no relevance or any credibility whatsoever after nominating this film. The film is called Amelia Perez. And what is the plot of Amelia Perez? Well, it's about a Mexican drug cartel, Mexican drug lord. I think his name was Manitas. I'm sure I'm forgetting his name or pronouncing it wrong or something like that. But anyway, the Mexican drug cartel, drug lord, it's about how he wants to transition into a woman. And therefore, when he transitions, as the movie argues, he changes society, therefore he changes his soul, and he all of a sudden, because of the transition, completely leaves behind the old life of drug lord, completely is absolved of his crimes, and becomes a humanitarian who everyone loves. Yes, that is the plot of the film, and it's been... And, oh, did I mention that it's a musical? Yeah, it's a musical. For some reason, there's singing in this movie, probably the worst integrated singing and songs and nonsensical lyrics and embarrassing lyrics that I have ever heard in my life.
Amoplasty.
Yes.
Vaginoplasty.
Yes.
Rhinoplasty.
Yes.
Why is it a musical? Well, because filmmakers have decided that, hey, we can make the worst films on planet Earth, but we know that, but on top of making the worst films on planet Earth, we know we can really make it the ninth circle of hell if we just turn it into a musical. Yeah. That is the film. I hesitate to call it that, but with such a film as this, and we're going to have to talk about a lot about the state of awards and all of that soon, and the state of Hollywood. But there's really no other way to review this film than to describe to all of you what happens in the film. And by the way, I have completely lost any respect of anyone who was involved in this film. And the two known stars are Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez. So I completely disavow any respect I have for those ladies, and this should be a career-ruining film for them, or it would be under any other circumstances. But anyway, the film opens up with a lot, and I mean a lot, of production credits for people who worked on this film, including Why Not Productions, and I just think that that is so aptly titled for this. But anyway, the film starts out with this really pretentious slow music, and then we see some guys in sombreros playing, the maracas or whatever it is, because we're in Mexico. We transition into this scene where we get introduced to what should be our main character, except for the fact that she disappears halfway through the film, kind of. Rita, played by Zoe Saldana, and she is a lawyer getting ready to argue a case. Now, it is very confusing watching this film. The film is almost entirely in Spanish, but I have to say, I know a few words, phrases in Spanish. I could not understand what anyone was saying in this film, if anyone was even speaking Spanish, with some of the dialogue in this film, particularly from Selena Gomez.
A tu país amado bonita, a tu lujosa cárcel primita, donde todo es caro.
Because Selena Gomez had like 2 weeks to learn Spanish, and they give her a role where all she has to do is speak Spanish, and this is the result. Anyway, throughout the film, they will break out into a weird song and dance that is a weird, complete clash from the rest of the tone of the film that is trying to be super self-serious. Anyway, we get the idea from Zoe Saldana that she isn't happy with her life. She isn't confident enough to create a firm for herself because she's black. She doesn't have a relationship that could lead to a family. So Zoe Saldana, very unhappy in her life, even as she has a degree and is this accomplished lawyer and all of that stuff. And then one day, she gets a mysterious call from a drug lord who puts a bag over her head, puts it in his car, and says that he has a proposition for her. But he tells her that he will make her rich beyond her dreams, but she has to agree to whatever he wants her to do before he'll tell her what that is. And so Zoe Saldana accepts the money straight away. Really? Like, in the beginning, they're trying to set up that Zoe Saldana is this good person, but it's like she literally, like, he could have asked her to go kill people for him, and she accepted the money. Whatever he wanted her to do, she accepted the money for that. Anyway, so then the drug lord tells her what he wants.
Quiero ser una mujer.
No entiendo.
¿Qué no entiende?
¿Quiere decir físicamente mujer?
Sí.
He wants her to orchestrate it so he can get surgery from the best surgeons in the world to transition into a woman. He wants to be a woman, he says. That's all he wants. So Zoe Saldana agrees, and she goes to America to speak to some doctors about doing the transitional surgery. And then we get this wonderful song.
Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina.
That part of the song was literally stuck in my head all night. Imagine being up at 3 a.m. and hearing this song in your head.
From penis to vagina.
The song is called Vaginoplasty. And though, as Zoe Saldana goes throughout the facility, she sees all the people who are getting a gender transitioning, mutilating surgery on their faces, and changing their vocal cords and all that stuff. And they sing it right into her face, all the different procedures that they're going through, like this. Are you trying to make me horrified right now? Because I feel horrified by all of this right now. Was this scene supposed to make me see transitioning as a good thing? Because if it did so, I'm just creeped out beyond words. And Zoe Saldana gives like the worst performance in this film. It's kind of like the reverse of Heath Ledger's Joker, where when you watch Heath Ledger's Joker, he's just so mesmerizing you can't really describe it, but Zoe Saldana is so baffling in her choices, I can't describe it. So then we cut to Zoe Saldana in the hotel room that the drug lord has set her up in. And she's all of a sudden grabbed by some of his men who choke her and put a plastic bag over her head and tell her that she's not working fast enough and that she better get on it. And then from that scene where the drug lord literally tries to asphyxiate her, we get this scene where she's talking to the surgeon about doing the surgery, and he says that he doesn't feel great about it because this is a drug lord. This is an evil guy who has killed people and kidnapped and obviously distributed drugs for money. You can't change someone on the inside even if you change their gender.
I only fix the body. I will never fix the soul.
But then Zoe Saldana breaks into this song.
Doctor, I know you did a lot of study. Doctor, say I disagree.
That you haven't met the person that she's met.
Doctor, you better trust my Mr. Mystery. If you had seen what he has shown to me, you'd be a better man.
And that when you transition society. And when you transition society, you change your soul. When you transition, you do change your soul.
Changing the body changes society. Changing society changes the soul. Changing the soul changes society. Changing society changes it all.
No! And literally, what is she talking about? About the person, like, you don't know the person I know. You mean the guy who just tried to choke you out in literally the previous scene? Am I missing something here? What do you mean this guy is changing his soul? So then we meet the family of the drug lord, which he seems to like very much. But he says that some things need to be given up because apparently, according to him, in order to change his soul and change the life that he led before, there is literally no other way for him to do that other than transitioning. And it even implies that the only reason why he is in this life is because he's living as a man, and that if he transitions, then all of a sudden he will be free from all of that. And so apparently he's not being transparent with his family about it at all. And his plan is to ship his family off to Switzerland and then stage a story about him dying so that his family thinks that he's dead, which really tears them apart, and then go off and live his life as a woman once he's transitioned. Yeah, that's the thing. And the guy says that it's a big sacrifice for him. No, it's not. He says that it's the only way that he can change his life. Really? Are you sure about that? He's just betrayed his family. So anyway, we finally get to the transition, and the camera work of it and all makes it look really horrifying. Like all of the stuff on his face, all of the bandages have to look out of a straw. But he takes a look at his private parts and sees that off camera that he now has lady parts grafted onto him, so he smiles and it gives the feeling that it was all worth it. And now he's going by the name Amelia Perez. Is your heart warmed? So then we go through a time skip and we find Zoe Saldana, who is now rich beyond her dreams thanks to taking the job to have this man transition. So now Amelia Perez, who is living out the life of Amelia Perez, no longer that drug lord, is now still living it up and going to these nice fancy restaurants in London and all of that. And for some reason, and this is a key point to understand the rest of the film, no one recognizes the drug lord. Everyone just sees Amelia Perez. No one can possibly recognize who this person was before. And not only that, but they don't even acknowledge that this is a trans person. Like, no one recognizes this person.
No reconozco tu voz. ¿Son amigos?
Really? Really? But Zoe Saldana is allowed to know who Amelia Perez is, and they say, why have they come to meet Zoe Saldana? Well, they want to bring their kids back. And they don't mention the wife. They just want to bring it back so that they can be with their kids again. Apparently, the plan of Amelia Perez is that they will now live as the supposed estranged aunt of the kids and the wife so that they can spend their life being with them and spending time with them. And they never have to know that he is actually their father who abandoned them and faked his death. Why? Why isn't he just transparent with them about that he's their father who's transitioned? And that's going to tear them apart as it is. But like, why are you lying to them? Why are you trying to live your life out as their fake aunt through all of this? But here's where it gets even crazier. When the wife and the kids come and meet Amelia Perez, none of them recognize him. And that's the important thing throughout the rest of the film. Literally, they live for this supposed estranged aunt Amelia Perez for what's implied to be months, if not years, and none of them ever figured out. There's even a scene where the kids say, "You smell like our papa," and they still don't recognize him, and the wife doesn't recognize him. Nobody is able to put two and two together and be like, this is the husband who faked his death. None of them are able to do that. None of them even acknowledge or realize that this is a trans person. They just think that it's this estranged aunt. And that's very important to go forward in the story, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, Amelia Perez, now that apparently they have all their life squared away and that they are living as Amelia Perez, and they say that Manitis, or whatever the name was, is dead, and that drug cartel life is behind them, and that they do not have any responsibility for that because it was a past life. They're living out their life now until they find a woman who is looking for her lost son. And Amelia Perez recognizes that they might be responsible for either the death or kidnapping of that person because, you know, as a drug lord, they kidnapped and killed and all kinds of stuff like that. So Amelia Perez becomes a philanthropist. A philanthropist. I can't even say it. Amelia Perez starts a nonprofit to start finding the dead bodies, the people who have been missing and killed in Mexico. Not to save anyone, because all these people that they are responsible for the death of are already dead, but just so the loved ones of these people can see the dead bodies of their loved ones and have that closure. Isn't Amelia Perez such a good person? Well, apparently the film thinks so, because after this, they are put in the musical form on a pedestal. Amelia Perez, the philanthropist, whatever that is. Amelia Perez, this wonderful person who is saving Mexico. Not only are they reuniting the families of the dead bodies with their families that they were responsible for killing, by the way, which none of these families, as they're hugging and kissing her and crying and so grateful, realize that they are actually thanking the person who killed their loved ones, but they are also just put on a pedestal in general. They are helping somehow the poor people of Mexico to get educated now. Amelia Perez, the saint. Amelia Perez, this wondrous human being who everyone loves. And I just wanted to throw myself off of a building at this point. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, the wife of Amelia Perez, the real wife, his former wife from when he was a man, has decided that she is unhappy with her life. She's not going to be shackled up in this house with this weird aunt that came out of nowhere. So she goes and she rekindles an affair with an old lover. And that will be important later on. And Selena Gomez also sings the worst song in the entire film, where I don't know what she was doing, chanting. The editing is literally like this. Selena Gomez deserves a Razzie Award for this movie, I am telling you. But meanwhile, Amelia Perez is running a gala, and Zoe Saldana has a problem because Amelia Perez is using the money from their drug cartel buddies that they are still associated with to fund this gala for reuniting lost persons with their families. Wonderful work, Amelia Perez, but they say that they just don't know any other people right now. So Amelia Perez then is going to go up and give a big speech. And then this scene happens. And there is only one time in history where I have been as baffled of seeing something in a film as this scene. I can show it as no other way of just showing you how it plays out. Yeah, Zoe Saldana out of nowhere starts doing a dance like she's a 3-year-old trying to get attention. Maybe I can demonstrate for you what it looked like.
This is such an American experience.
And I don't understand what this song is about. Something about the people at the event gonna get what's coming to them, but they never do. She starts simulating sexual movements and acts on the table at one point, which this movie actually isn't as explicit. It isn't really explicit at all up to that point, despite the subject matter. And so I'm like, what is this? Zoe Saldana deserves a Razzie Award. Once again, this is the most baffling, worst scene I have seen in any film. And they make it a musical. What is this? This is embarrassing. This is career ruining. I cannot believe. No respect. Zero respect for Zoe Saldana. I don't understand how she agreed to any of this as she's going around writhing on the tables at this benefit. Anyway, there was so much of the film left after that moment. Oh boy. Anyway, the insanity doesn't stop there. Emilia Perez is working at her non-profit organization when a Mexican lady comes in looking for her apparent long-lost husband until Amelia Perez announces that they've been killed and that they were found dead. But this woman breaks down in tears and says that she is actually surprisingly grateful for that because this was a husband who abused her and essayed her and all of that. So it turns out that Amelia Perez, Manintos, whatever the name was, this drug lord who was responsible for killing her husband, actually was doing a good thing because it was a bad person. Do you see how this drug lord who killed people was actually doing good things in a backdoor way? And so then it gets so random because then it seems like Amelia Perez is attracted to this woman that they just met and that they've bonded over the fact that her husband is dead and that she brought a knife to kill him potentially. And then while they don't show it, they imply that whoever it is, starts hooking up with this woman out of literally nowhere, and she's fine with it. I'm going to get in trouble for what I'm about to say. I'm going to get in trouble. But in real life, I do know a thing or two about what it's like if you're, not from me, but from other people who I've known who are lesbian or stuff like that. But if you are lesbian or if you are trans, it is very difficult to find a significant other. Why? Because if you're a lesbian, there aren't a lot of other lesbians. It's very difficult to find a significant other. But in these movies, it's always just weirds me out. Like, it's so easy. You meet a random woman walking in to your office, and turns out she's perfectly willing. She's perfectly willing for whatever you want to do. It's just magic like that. Mind you, he didn't even have a conversation with this person. Apparently, they're just fine with hooking up and all of that stuff, and no one acknowledges that this is a trans person. They just all accept that this is a woman. I guess, okay, fine. Amelia Perez feels a little bad because they're living two lives here, right? There's the weird aunt to the kids that he knows are actually he's the biological father of, and then they also have a girlfriend on the side. Oh, the drama, the sadness of Amelia Perez. But Amelia Perez continues to be beloved by all because they are reuniting all of the families of the people that he's killed or kidnapped, so that now the families can see the dead bodies of those people and have closure. But it couldn't all be sunshine and rainbows for Amelia Perez, even though they are living the life that they want to lead. For Selena Gomez comes home one day, the actual wife that he faked the death for, and says that she's going to marry the man she's been having an affair with. And once again, I just don't know, does he actually care about the wife or not? Because before it made it seem like no, because he didn't even seem to care about telling her who he really is, or even having her back just for the kids, and he's off with this other lady now. But what really gets him, even though he seems a little bit upset about the marriage, is that Selena Gomez says that, of course, she's going to take her kids to live with her new husband. Why not? Because she is the mother. Their father is dead for all she knows. She wants to take her kids with her. And then, this is crazy, Amelia Perez kind of becomes Manintus again. He goes back to who he was before. He drops his voice. He drops his woman's voice and goes back to a man's voice. He starts acting like the old person. He flies at Selena Gomez in a rage and pushes her down and hits her on the bed and says that she's not taking his kids anywhere. And Selena Gomez, who still, at this point, despite everything, cannot recognize who this guy really is, screams after her, like, what is the aunt talking about? They're her kids. What's going on? So then Amelia Perez is so angry about this, he orders his goons to go and attack the guy that Selena Gomez was trying to marry, and they beat him in an alleyway. And then he comes home and gets into a rage because Selena Gomez has run away with the kids. Wow, why would she do that? You only threatened her, attacked her, and attacked the person who she was trying to marry. Why would anyone want to run away from you, Amelia Perez? So Zoe Saldana's character, who once again kind of fell out of the story at this point, tries to create a peace between the two because Amelia Perez has cut off off Selena Gomez from all of her finances, which she thinks are rightfully hers because they belong to her husband, and her husband, for all she knows right at this point, has died. Even though she's been literally living with him all these years, but because he wears a wig now, she can't recognize them. But then the thing becomes a full-blown comedy, as if it wasn't already. Selena Gomez wants her money, so she and her fiance apparently have their own goons from a drug cartel that they can use, and they... Brace yourself for this. This is gonna get kind of emotional, tragic. They kidnap Amelia Perez. Are you kidding? Who would do such a thing to Amelia Perez? This is the cute humanitarian who only helps people. Who would do such a thing to Amelia Perez? Well, that's what they treat it like in the movie. Zoe Saldana plays it so over the top of how heartbroken she is at this realization. Not Emilia! This entire thing has just become a trashy soap opera. They're holding Amelia Perez in this warehouse, and they're waiting to get the money from Zoe Saldana, and the husband is actually the husband who pretended to die, and now he's transitioned, and his wife is there, and her fiance is there. It's a trashy soap opera at this point, but that would be an improvement, actually. And Selena, even as Amelia Perez is captured by her and has their makeup smeared, and just, she still doesn't recognize him for some reason. So then Zoe Saldana comes with the money. She's very worried. And shots are fired. And Amelia Perez gets shot. And I was so happy because this person is an abusive drug lord who's killed millions of people and kidnapped millions of people. And they can think they can go around and get accolades for everything they've done and what a great person they are. And they betrayed their family and are still betraying their family and are still acting this way. And they think they can get away with it just because they transitioned. Unfortunately, my heart fell. I was crestfallen. Amelia Perez is not dead yet. But don't worry, spoilers. They will die, but it will be a much more comedic death. But for some reason, this finally triggers Amelia Perez to finally reveal to the wife who he really is. All this time, the real truth. Why didn't you just tell them that before? You were betraying her anyway, and if you divorced her, maybe you could work out a dual custody with the kids rather than pretending that you're their fake aunt and not their actual father. And Amelia Perez tells a story about how he met Selena Gomez and how they got married that only he would know. And finally, this gives Selena Gomez the slow realization that this is her long-lost husband who has just transitioned all this time. What took her this long to figure it out? And why would a story of all things wake her up to this? But because the rest of the people still think that it's Amelia Perez, they take them and they shove them in the back of a car and are driving away. But now Selena Gomez, who I'm not sure if she was supposed to love this person or not, or if they were supposed to love her, they kind of go back and forth in the movie, says, stop the car, we gotta stop because this is actually my husband. And their fiance who's driving has no idea what she's talking about, so he hits her because that's what they do. And so she just, instead of explaining to him what's happening calmly to pull over the car, she picks up a gun and starts screaming at him, and he just thinks that she's lost her mind, and so a struggle ensues. And let me tell you, when you are shooting a film, there are certain shots and edits that you do for comedy. One of those shots I've noticed is when a bunch of people are driving in a car and they're screaming, and then it cuts to like an overhead shot where you can hear it from below. That's comedy. That is how it's shot here. All of the car shots are shot as if it's a comedy, so I was laughing. Anyway, with Selena Gomez and the gun, for some reason, this is real. She and her fiance, there's a struggle, and they lose control of the car and go over a cliff, and there's like a million rolls to this car. But if you weren't sure that all three persons in this car, including Amelia Perez, are dead, it explodes. Oh, it was glorious. I laughed so hard. It was so funny. And to make it even funnier, for whatever reason, this car was driving hundreds of miles an hour to get away. But for however it happened, Zoe Saldana is somehow there at the top of the cliff to watch the destruction of the car so that she can react in anguish because we've lost Amelia Perez. Oh no! So then we cut to seeing that Zoe Saldana finally has kids because she now needs to take care of the kids of the drug cartel lord Amelia Perez and Selena Gomez now that they are both dead. And the last scene we get of the entire film is like this statue of Amelia Perez that's made to look sort of like Mother Mary being carried throughout the streets of Mexico City because of what a saint, what a goddess, what an angel this person was to them for starting a nonprofit organization after they killed, murdered, passed drugs, all of that stuff. Praising Amelia Perez for the goddess that she was as the music and the movie slowly, somberly fade out. Um, 13 Oscar nominations and a Golden Globe Award, ladies and gentlemen. This film is perhaps the worst film ever made. I cannot begin to describe the how demented it is, how demented its morals are. Basically, the moral of the story is, as it said explicitly in it, if you transition, that changes exactly who you are and you become a wonderful person absolved of all your past sins. That is the message of this film. And isn't it a tragedy that it didn't all work out? You know, it didn't all work out because of Emilia Perez, and betraying the family is why it didn't work out. And this film has been accused of being racist by Mexicans. Mexicans hate this, and the LGBT community has completely rejected it because it's embarrassing, and it does make it look horrible. It is a complete embarrassment, but for some reason, the Hollywood Foreign Press and the actors of Hollywood, I say this because when it comes to Oscar voting, the majority of Oscar voters are actors, the elitist actors, and it's the elitist actors who are giving this all of the awards for editing, which is hilarious if you watch the movie, cinematography, acting, hilarious stuff because of how bad it is. Why are they doing it? Well, because it doesn't matter if this movie is actually offensive to the very groups of people it's trying to lift up, I suppose. This is a movie almost entirely spoken in Spanish by non-Spanish speakers by a French director, a Caucasian French director who has admitted he knew nothing about Mexico and did no research. But they praise it from Hollywood, and it's got 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. It needs a 0%. It's praised because it's trying to look at transitioning positively, and it's trying to be about, helping the poor citizens of Mexico by a drug lord who literally harmed them. This just shows how lost the elites of Hollywood are, that they would nominate such a film. Do you really think that the person, Karen Garcia, who plays Amelia Perez, do you really think that they got a nomination in Best Actress category because of how good their performance is?
Míos y todas las cosas. A Polanco, seguro. Entonces, ¿qué soy yo? No la dejaré hacer eso.
No, they wanted a virtue signal about having a trans person in the Best Actress category. It's always actresses for some reason. They never do this to the male categories. Anyway, all they see is trans and Mexico. That's all they see. And that's all these people who are just completely in their own bubble. That's all they see. They don't even hear any of the backlash to this film. They just think, we need to nominate this film because it has the ideology that we think sounds good. And they don't even understand what ideology they're promoting. Otherwise, they would understand that this movie is offensive to the very groups that it's trying to promote. But they don't. And it's like the trades that are giving this praise, like they have to, because they couldn't criticize such a film, such an amazing film as Amelia Perez, because it has the right politics, right? They're in a cage of their own making. It's the Emperor's New Clothes, where the Emperor has no clothes, but they all have to pretend he does, otherwise they'll get told bad things about themselves. They can't criticize Amelia Perez. It's like saying that the Emperor has no clothes. That's what it's like. Well, the rest of the people see this and see it for what it is. Just total nonsense. We laugh at this. The normal people look at this and laugh, but Hollywoodites don't want to be normal. Like, there are the working class in Hollywood who are normal, but these elites are not. And this is why they've completely lost people. This should be a death blow. The Oscars shouldn't go on. They say that this movie might win the Oscar. The Oscars should not go on after awarding such a film as this. It just shows how fake they are. You know, they've awarded some horrible films in the past, but there was always the excuse. Whatever horrible message the movie has, the cinematography is great. The story is great. The crafting is great. Not so with this film. This has completely exposed them for what they are, as if they weren't already. And I hope that everyone, like some people say that they wish it should win so that it completely devalues the Oscars and that everyone just sees them for what they are. And I think this film will do that. So go ahead, nominate and vote for Amelia Perez as Best Picture. It shows everyone exactly what you are. You have no taste in film, no passion for the art, and you don't even believe the things that you're promoting. Otherwise, you would see that this is actually a negative for the things that you're trying to promote, and people actually do think that it's an offensive film. This film is exposing you all for what you are. That's all I got for you guys to say. I'm glad that I'll never have to watch Amelia Perez again. Is this the worst movie ever made?